So we do it, and it's like brutal.
Oh,
like
how brutal?
So what's brutal sex from a male perspective?
I don't know. I guess in the most politically like safe way you could say it, the pH balances were a little bit off. pH balances were definitely off.
Guys, we are here with stand-up comedian Danny Martineello.
Hey.
You're so Canadian.
Yeah.
God,
I was waiting for it.
Brought you here to discuss how Canadian you are.
Yeah.
Well, like the walk signs, I have every time I do a show in Canada, I have a bit about the walk signs, the white light up man walking. And like in New York, the guy's looking down. He's like doesn't care about anything. And in Canada, he's looking up and he's skipping.
Yeah.
You're that guy.
Yeah.
You're the white walking Canadian sign.
I guess I am. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's like kind of funny. It's like fitting with the walking signs here in New York where everybody's like looking down and he looks like he's disheveled and pissed off. He's
he
got
hates
a cross.
his wife. He hates his kids.
Yeah. But he's in the city chasing his dreams.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's cool.
You seem very genuinely happy. Is this?
Yeah, I'm suspect.
Yeah. Is
like,
this? Is
well,
this?
sus.
Is, you said you could. Well, we're expecting a cross examination.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna give you.
Why are you so happy?
Why are you so happy?
I don't know. I think it's just because I come from like the prairies, and so like
prairies sound nice.
Yeah. So and I don't know. I just kind of live my life where I'm like I'd rather be like happy than like sad because there's so many like sad people around and like
totally.
Yeah, and it adds to like the hang, you know, like
yeah.
You don't
You're
wanna,
like a Californian Canadian.
Yeah, so they say. I shred it.
Have you ever been to California?
Yeah, several times. That's where I actually first met you girls. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You just said that. Okay.
Yeah, but then I also studied at Groundlings for like a couple months.
So do you choose this happy demeanor or is it come natural to you?
Yeah, every day I got to actively kind of choose it. But I think it just generally...
See, that
wake
sounds
up.
scary. That
wake up in the morning.
Yeah,
I fight away
like,
the
well, of
demons.
course, like sometimes you wake up and you're like, oh man, like you're not feeling it, you know? So you got to kind of like shift, and especially in comedy where you're like, you come from a night where it's like a shitty show and you're like, oh man, what am I doing here, you know?
I was going to say, what does a bad day look like to Danny Martineello?
I get up a little bit later than I usually do. And then...
What time we talking specifically?
Lately I've been like getting up around like 10.
Okay.
Ooh,
So
bad boy.
Yeah, so yeah, you know what I mean?
That's a good comedy wake up time.
Yeah.
Because it's not like
Noon sad. 10's good.
It's like still the morning,
Yeah.
but most people are already at work.
Well, it's hard for me to get out of bed too because I just love it. And then when you get into that comfortable state where you're like a little kitten and your hands
you're
are pawing,
pawing.
and
Yeah,
you're like,
you're kneading the
I don't
comforter.
want to, but you don't have like your parents to be like, it's time to get up. So you're like, I'm gonna exercise my right as an adult to sleep in an extra little bit.
Wow, you're like a kid in a man's body.
Yeah,
Wow.
a little baby boy.
Did something happen to you as a child to make you like that?
No, I think that's the thing too, where it's like everybody's like, oh, did you have some kind of like shit? Like obviously you have like your traumas growing up, but it wasn't like anything bad. It was more so like, I don't know.
Happy traumas?
Maybe I didn't get enough hugs from my father growing up.
Okay.
But my mom babied me a lot, which was nice. But you know,
You liked it?
You like
Oh,
that?
well, yeah.
Women can't stand that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like
baby man.
we come from like an Italian household, right? So it's like mom's kind of like the
Oh, yeah.
top dog of it all. Which,
yeah.
Yeah, and she was a bit of a breadwinner too, so it was like,
badass.
it like double offset my dad and I. So, so it was like.
Is that why your dad didn't
explains
hug
a
you
lot.
as much? Because he was.
No, I think he was just closer with my brother, like the firstborn, and then
And then he was like, I
yeah.
don't really get along with you.
Yeah, maybe I suckled my mother better than my brother or something, where we had a bond, you know, where she's like, oh, this kid, and I was more of like a mommy.
That's
So
how we
she's
do
like-
impressions of Mama's voice, and you actually
do
just
you?
Yeah.
Mommy.
It's identical.
Yeah. I can't wait to go home for Christmas. Hey, the tit's not dry yet, girls. You know, gonna get some
Gives
more
you
of
your
that.
stocking early.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know, but I just think it's like.
So your dad's like, towards you, but your mom's like,
No, my dad's like affectionate as well, but like I think it was just he was more stricter, right? And he came from like a immigrant family, so I'm like the first kind of like born Canadian of ourself. So I think he like brought in some of that like immigrant like trauma or like they not so much nurturing that his father didn't give him, right?
Yeah, of
so maybe it
course.
just kind of was that chain, and he had to be that. Well, I don't know. He's more of like a kind of a strict, like I wouldn't say cold, but you know, it's like not warm as
So cold.
Yeah, sometimes.
Mild.
Yeah, mild. You know, he's like
clammy.
Yeah, like
It's
when the
not
dish has
cold.
been on the
Nothing in
oven for a
Danny's
little
life
bit.
is cold.
Yeah,
It's wonderful.
Look at that smile.
yeah. So I don't know, but I had like a good upbringing. I wasn't like bad or anything like that.
Great.
Yeah. As I looked down, it wasn't
your
bad.
happiness doesn't feel like, are you going to explode one day and like a dorm room? Like, it doesn't feel like that. I don't
Yeah,
think
like
about
I have
it. It feels
a
genuine.
Michael Douglas moment where I don't get my burger on time and I just snap.
Yeah, just lose it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Have you
no-
ever lost your temper?
Yeah, I was like a bit of a hothead like growing up.
Oh.
Yeah, and then I had to go through like kid
management.
programs and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
kid programs were you in?
It was called COPE. It was called Children Overcoming Problems Effectively.
so Canadian.
Yeah, but it was like brutal because you'd be at like family functions or like gatherings, but it was extracurricular because it was like mandatory from the Edmonton Public School Board that I had to do it.
What'd you do to have to
I was
do
like
that?
a bad kid. I was like,
I mean, but what's that in Canada?
Yeah, I know. Like,
I'd be like fighting. I was like, I would say overly sexually developed as a young kid. So I was like saying pretty like offside jokes and when I was in like
what?
elementary.
Give us a flavor.
Do you remember any of these jokes?
Like you'd see like Big Daddy, and then I asked girls if they're like bros when they went by the frozen food section.
That's
yeah, and then and then somebody made a joke about oat, and then like all the older kids laughed. So I was like, oh, that's something I can like take.
Yeah.
And then
So you were acquiring materials about
yeah, and then so I'd ask the girls, I'd be like, oh, do you like get out? And then,
no.
Yeah, and they're like 9, and I'm and I'm 9, and then all the teachers would be like, what the. And then they'd like get me, and I'd be like, I don't know what it means. I just thought it was funny.
That's so typical kid stuff. But the
Yeah.
Canadians were like, no.
Yeah, and then like I kind of found like condoms, and then I would always like tie condoms around like the door at like the school.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So people couldn't open the
Yeah,
door.
when they'd open it, there'd be like a hanging condom on the door handle in like my elementary school, and they'd be like, what the f-? And then they would always find out it was me.
All roads
Yeah.
lead back to
So were
you.
you
Yeah.
hypersexual as a kid?
I guess so. You could say that. Like my brother's 3 years older than me, right? And then he hung out with an older crowd. So by natural, I was always hanging out with like kids that were maybe like 4 or 5 grades above me, right?
That's a lot.
Yeah, and then they always thought like, oh, well, let's teach Danny this stuff and then send
And
him
then
on
he'll
his
go run
little
off and
mission.
say it.
Yeah, and then they'd all be like nickering and stuff. But then my brother would be like, you know, hanging out with girls that he wants to kind of like make out with and kiss and stuff when I was like probably 9 or 10. And then I'd be like, oh, my brother likes that. Oh, I like that too, you know?
Okay, yeah,
And then
yeah.
so I'd be like wooing all like,
I have a girlfriend too.
yeah, wooing all the ladies. And then when my brother or my parents would have like dinner parties, I'd always be like hanging out with the girls in the kitchen or like doing like that kind of stuff. And like, like I loved flirting with the older ladies at like the school, you know, like,
Yeah.
like it's half of why I got in trouble was to go see the secretaries. And then I would just chat up the secretaries and they'd be like, oh, Daniel, you're back again. I'm like, I just can't get enough of you, you know, like the vice versa. And then, but it was trouble that led me there.
So you were like 9 trying to get MILFs?
Oh yeah. Real mother complex, eh?
Oh, yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm just kidding. I don't know why I leaned in and said that. Too.
No.
Like that.
Maybe it was a Freudian slip.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. So wait, how old
Yeah,
are you
definitely want
now?
to smash mom.
Okay, well, at least you're honest.
No, I'm just kidding. She's a nice lady. What was the question? sorry?
How old are you? Was the
I'm
question.
33 right now.
So you're okay.
Yeah.
Weird way to answer the question.
Yeah.
Ask me tomorrow.
Yeah.
Different age.
Yeah, next month I might be 33 and a half.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So you're 33, and like, so what does your relationship with your mom look like today as a 33-year-old man? Like, how frequently are we talking to mom on the phone?
Not as much as she likes. Like sometimes I'll go like weeks without talking to her, and then she'll like blow up my phone and go, you don't love me anymore.
Oh, so
Yeah.
I was wondering if you seem like you could have possibly call everyday energy.
Sometimes
Yeah,
I
I was
do,
thinking
like, but yesterday I called her, talked to her on the phone yesterday, and then like a couple of days ago and stuff. So I always got to check in, especially when you're getting old, and like my parents are kind of up there too. So I don't want to, I've spent maybe 10, 11 years away from my home since that. So it's like every day you kind of have
that's normal when you're an adult.
Yeah, and then you also think about it too, where you're like, okay, when did my grandparents pass away? And then you kind of look at the laws of average, and
Do
then
some math, yeah.
and then their health that
Like,
they
oh,
have,
shit.
right? So you're like, I always try and have that. I don't want to have it. So it's like one
Parents-
phone call is, hey, you have to come home, right?
Yeah.
So, and then I also saw this weird thing online where it was like But he says, okay, maybe you have like 12 years left of your parents, but then how many times do you visit them a year? And it's like 2. Okay, so then you only really have like 24 visits before.
That's a shit way to think.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like family is a very important thing, right? I always say like it's once you forget your roots, then the tree dies. So
Jesus.
Yeah, you're gonna have a couple more, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Carve that into a piece of wood and throw it in the dining room.
More set over here.
Yeah. So I don't know, but I feel like family is like a very important thing too to me, especially because it's like some people don't have it, right? Like some people are more blessed to have a healthy relationship with their parents, or even if they overcome some differences to get back together and stuff.
Yeah,
so
that's beautiful.
Yeah, try to keep Mary and Ernie happy by seeing me. You know?
Ernie?
Yeah, Erminio,
That's so cute.
Erminio Pio Lorenzo Martinello.
Oh, that's so Italian.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So is your obsession with like the importance of family, is that why you want to become specifically a girl dad?
No, I just think it would be like fun, you know, because like don't get me wrong, like it would be awesome to have a boy. Like I would like to have a boy, and then if I had a girl, that'd be sick too, because all my buddies are having like girls, and then they enjoy it, and I think it would just be so fun because I've never really had like, I don't know.
Little girls are so different than little boys.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Like the little kids that I've observed lately, I'm like, wow, little girls have this like kind of and just really girly energy. I don't know how else to put it, but it's like very sweet and very like, I don't know, in tune with you.
Yeah, and it'd be like also fun too, because then it could be like, oh well, there you go, mom. Now you have a little girl in the family.
Oh yeah, she wanted a daughter.
She always
so you
wanted
want your
one.
future wife to have a baby to make your mom happy. This is the most Italian thing I've ever heard in my life.
I'll travel away. You stay at home. No, I don't know. I just think it'd be like a fun, full like circle. I don't know, like a weird chromatic. Is that the way you could say it? Karma. Karmatic.
I was like, chromatic would be like color related, I think.
Yeah.
Karma.
Karmatic? Is that a
I don't
word?
know. Maybe it's the word.
I don't know.
Karma related.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Right.
No, for sure.
Yeah, then it's a
no,
word.
I was like, I was like, fuck, is this another Canadian thing?
Yeah, no. It's my pamplemousse.
Sometimes you guys say things and I'm like, what? You know? Like the Santa parade. And I was like, oh, you mean the Thanksgiving Day parade.
Santa parade?
Yeah. Do you not know about that either?
That'd
Did
be a
Ryan
Christmas
make this
parade.
up? Ryan Long told me that it's he was trying to do a joke and he was explaining the Santa parade, and then I finally realized, I was like, oh, in America that's the Thanksgiving Day parade, but Thanksgiving obviously American holiday, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a Santa parade would be like a Christmas parade.
So okay,
you know what I mean? What are you going to have Saint Nick come out with all the pilgrims? That's what he goes. I give you these gifts of blankets, my friends.
Well, he does in
Enjoy the pox.
The Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade in America. At the end, Santa is revealed. Santa comes
like
on his
Santa's
sleigh
coming.
and it welcomes the Christmas
season.
So on Thanksgiving morning, we welcome the Christmas season. In America.
Yeah, sure. Then make a Macy's Thanksgiving parade. Yeah, you know, you girls will get it. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it'd be like fun and like, I don't know. I just think like it's like.
So you think parenthood would be fun? Do you think there would be any other elements to it?
Yeah, very stressful.
Okay.
At times, but I think it would just be like sweet, where it's like, I don't know. I've always kind of pictured that where it'd be funny, like the dad being like, you know, teach it like, oh no, if a girl gets her first period, and then you're like, this is a beautiful part of womanhood, you know?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Is that how that's how you would approach it?
That's what I would. She'd be like, what's happening to me? I'd be like, you're becoming a woman.
Well,
you know?
that's better than the woman in my life handled.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think it'd be like a fun kind of like different side of it. But then maybe I'm also looking at it where it could be like some more comedic kind of like jokes
for the
bits, you know, right? So
you think girl dad bits would be funnier than boy dad?
Well, yeah.
So you just admitted women are funnier. No.
Yeah, maybe, sure.
Wow.
No, I just think it'd be like an interesting part of life where it's like, you know, because I know what it is to be like a boy. You know,
what is it like to be a boy?
It's fucking sick.
It seems pretty.
Eric's
pretty
back
sick.
there, like, yeah, it's deadly.
Doesn't seem like
I think
a lot
it's
of stress.
simple. I think it's very simple to be a man, but also you have your you know, problems, I guess, with like.
What are your problems?
Well, you got to be like tough. You got to be like strong. Like sometimes when you want to be like, you know, I guess an emotional state or kind of like empathetic or something like that. Like where I come from, it's like a blue collar. Like I'm from Alberta, so Edmonton.
Oh, shit.
So it's like, you know, a man has to work, produce, and then if you have any feelings, you repress it and put it into overtime. You know.
Yeah.
So it's
I'm sure that was like egged on by your dad.
Yeah. And then I don't know. I think like coming into manhood, where it means to be like you know, a provider, but also like a strong support being, but not being so overbearing, and as well as giving like a sense of community to be, like grow, but then also be there in a fact where it's like, okay, if anything happens, you have to step up to it, right?
Yeah, right.
Like if you see anything in public and shit, and that's what I have a hard time here, where like there's a lot of things where you're like, fuck, should I say something?
Like injustices.
Yeah, like when we were in like on the subway or whatever, like, or when you see like an altercation, like we even had to step in, me and my buddy, a roommate Jared, we were walking back and then we saw like a dispute, like a domestic kind of enough where we were like, oh fuck man, like, we can't walk past this, right? And so we like went up to him, we were like, oh, are you okay, miss? Like, you know,
good
to the point where she was like in the car trying to get away and this guy's like in there, you hear
Holy
the gearbox like grind. And then it was enough where we were walking up being like, oh man, like this is pretty aggressive. Like buddy's like, you know, kind of shaking her, grabbing her and all this.
Yeah.
And we had to step in and then be like, but like, are you okay? You know,
What'd
like,
she
do you
say?
want to walk with us? Like, we're like, what are we doing? But yeah, at the same time, you don't want to take it away from that situation, because then you're like, oh, this is only going to do a little bit more damage when she comes back to him. She's, you know,
he had the foresight to know that.
This is very insightful.
It is, because I've broken up domestic violence disputes before. I've seen a guy straight up slap a woman in the face.
Yeah.
And Corinne was like, you know, she's gonna probably get the shit beat out of her when
get
she
it
goes
double.
home.
So we just had
Didn't
to
even
make
think of that.
Yeah,
Well,
so
because he can't hit you, so he has to hit her again.
Yeah, but then it's also like
Sorry,
we're in
girl.
Yeah,
Sorry, girl.
but you're also in America too, where it's like in Canada, you could be like, okay, well, whatever. The likelihood of this guy having a firearm is very low, and then if he does,
True.
and then it's like whatever, we can just settle this in fists, you know, and do it right, unless he has a knife.
Do the Canadian way with
Yeah,
fists
exactly,
and
right?
maple syrup.
Like,
Plaid
well,
shirts,
it's like
fist
I don't know.
out.
There's like a sense in Canada where it's like like the one thing when I came here, I wouldn't say it's like community or consideration. That's the word, where it's like you have so many loud people here, and then when they're doing their own thing. But I think that's with America, where they have so much freedom, where it's like they have a right to go and do whatever the fuck they want, but you have a right to stay out of his business because he's not bothering you like physically. But then if you see something, you're like, man, there's kids here, like figure it out, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like control your shit. Like,
Well, that is a way, that is a wise time to step in. If you see a woman getting like...
Yeah, but then we stepped in and we saw like, is it okay? And then the guy does the classic, like, no, she's all right. Look at her. And he's holding up her phone to her face, being like, there's no bruises, there's no nothing. And then immediately we're like, bro, the fact that you're doing that, like, let us know that like you were smacking her around.
Yeah.
So, like, do we have an issue right now? And he's like, no. And then the girl, we looked at the girl and we're like, you need help? Do you want us to like intervene or step in? She's like, no, it's okay. It's all this. And then he was playing the victim card of something because like she was like cheating on him or some shit. And then we just had to like kind of give her some walk by therapy, being like, listen, like if you're cheating on this guy, but then you already know you don't want to be with him, and this behavior right now states that like, why do you want to come back to this? Like if
You're
you
like
just
a little Canadian guardian angel.
yeah, but it's like I don't know, like, and when you were talking about like psychics or whatever at the beginning off the top, it's like I did a show and then this old person came up to talk to me and asked me, and she's like, oh, I see like an energy about you. You're very open. Do you have like things that just come into your life that like you deal with? And I go, well, what do you mean?
Well,
like,
that's everybody.
Yeah, that's everything. He goes, no, like you're very open to things, so things find you and like put you on a course, or like do you like talk to people, or like they come and talk to you and like therapeutic wise? And I go, yeah, I guess, but that's also like, I don't know, with growing up, my parents always taught me that like if you have time to talk to someone, talk to that person, even if they're a stranger, because you never know if you're that person that like can help them through what they're doing, or no one else, you know, like sometimes it's easier to talk your problems through with a stranger because they have no connection to you, right?
Yeah, and to experience a connection with somebody you don't know reminds you that you're human.
Yeah,
again,
and that's
so you don't
kind
feel
of
like,
and like I don't know, I feel like I've maybe helped some people through where it's like, you know, where they just talk to you and stuff, like, and you're like, oh, okay, thanks, you know. Like I missed my train stop, but for some reason I was pulled to miss it. You know, and keep talking to you.
Wait, are you spiritual?
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say you're using words like pulled and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, you have like a.
Well, I did a little research because I never really listened to your girl's pod, and then I crushed like 4 or 5 episodes, and then the lady that you had on, was it 2 weeks ago, or I don't know if it was Lisa, and I was listening to it, and I'm like, hell yeah, you know, like I was like,
this shit.
Yeah, I'm like, I was into it, because like I love like horoscopes, I love my cards getting read.
Wow.
Oh, that's right. You had that clip about getting your tarot read.
If we had the
and hey,
you would be up top.
Yeah.
Jason Salmon.
Oh, right. Yeah. No, I know. I was thinking
I'm having a girl make a sign for us.
I was thinking I was on a good guys tangent, because this is very similar. We had to Jason Salmon.
We rarely interview men in this chair that were like, wow, You're like a great one.
Yeah.
That's great. So you know the MySpace top 5?
I didn't really like do MySpace.
Oh, okay, so we did. And you can pick your top
Little
5
young
friends, which was very like scandalous back in the day.
We
But
did
were
like
gonna do our top 5
Nexopia.
male guests.
Wait, you're so Canadian you didn't get MySpace?
No, well, we had like
Next-
MySpace, but there was like a crossover where it was like MySpace was something, but then Facebook came in to play, so we all just went to Facebook. But our big thing was like Nexopia, where we grew up. So I don't know if it was like.
Can you explain that to us?
It was basically just like I would assume it would be like a Canadian version MySpace or whatever, but it was when we were in junior high, and then it was like you make your profile. It was like small little programmings. You put your profile pics on, and then you'd have like your best friends.
You do rank the friends.
Yeah,
on it,
and then
though?
you could get
Okay.
like Nexopia Plus, where you could like creep on
shit.
people to see who looked at your page.
Oh,
And shit.
hell yeah.
So
Definitely
then,
get
as soon as
that.
we found out the girls had Nexopia Plus, we were like, we can't look, we can't look. They're gonna know we're creeping. But yeah.
Wait, what sign are you?
I'm an Aquarius. My moon's in Virgo, and my
that's why I
rising
love
is
Aquariuses.
Gemini.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
And then when you were talking about your little crystal bit, I always.
He literally has crystals.
I brought-
Crystals in his
I brought them for the girls. I brought them for the girls.
Wait, explain what these crystals are and what they do and why you carry them with
I was
you.
explaining this was like a quartz one, and this one just kind of grounds you and like.
It
Just,
feels like you're doing a character, but I know you're not.
know
and
you're
it neutralizes like your like I don't know energies I guess
Aura.
into like a positive thing, and then this one I can't remember what it is. I think it's still like
beautiful.
a similar kind of thing. It was like and then this one I carry the most. I just rub it, and then this one I have by my
I have a
sage
quartz
bundles
one.
and shit.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Super fucking. What's the most like so like
But I'm also like I'm not just like like this spirit. Like I incorporate
balance.
all kind of things, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm
that's a
Catholic,
balanced
so-
life. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I would
Well,
say
a lot
I'm-
of religions have like they all kind of say the same thing, but they have very spiritual practices. Like
Oh, yeah.
like Catholicism has a lot of things that are very like
A lot of candle
woo-woo.
magic.
Yeah, honestly,
Yeah,
with
yeah,
the sage
yeah,
and the
yeah.
fucking they smudge and they
with the
a lot
little
of stuff.
Orthodox priests with the little like.
Yeah. It's all the same thing. That's
It's
why
all
it's
the
so
same thing.
silly to me when people are like, one is not. I'm like,
Or they go to war over it. It's like, oh god.
Yeah.
the same thing.
What's like the crazy? Have you ever experienced anything, even if it's like a psychic coming up to you, or like seen something that's like made you go, oh, there's more to this world? than I thought?
Yeah, I have like two kind of like things. Like I guess like for me, one where I was like, I know that there's a higher power. Like I necessarily like, well, I believe it would be my like God, but you could say universe or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Was it was when my nonna was getting like Alzheimer's and like dying on her deathbed, but then my brother got like attacked in an alley and almost died. He got stabbed. Yeah, he
holy
got stabbed
shit.
like a bunch of times, and then
Did he medically die?
It's just
No.
the same thing.
Like, what do you mean? Like, medically
Did he,
die? and
like, did
come
he, like,
back?
ha- yeah.
No.
Oh,
he was
he
on
flatlined.
the verge. You could say like it's
mean,
a
good for him.
coincidence or whatever, but he was like he was brutally attacked in like an
Fuck.
alley in Edmonton, and then
Edmonton. Dude,
Yeah.
they have Edmonton's got
yeah, it was
Just
pretty
a
bad.
random or
no, he was in the mix, and then
he had it coming.
yeah. But then
He was in
yeah,
the mix.
he
Was
was in.
such a funny way to say.
yeah, that's my. You can say something or what's a plead in the fifth or whatever.
Yeah, right. Vague
He
as possible.
was involved. Things, but then he was like on his deathbed where it was literally like the operator came in and was like, "Hey, this is your last time you can see your brother alive." Like,
Holy
oh yeah, like tubes in and out. Like he was a millimeter away from his aorta getting stabbed. Yeah. So,
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it was a pretty traumatizing night in the Martinello household, and then
As your Nona's dying.
yeah, my nonna's dying. So then, like, we did like this after we saw him. We did this whole little prayer circle of like, okay, like if you're gonna take one of the members, take grandma. Like, you know, like it was where it was like you know what I mean?
This
Like,
bitch old, take her.
yeah. Nonna's 83. She's
She
like
has no
going.
future.
Last time we went, she was calling me Ernie, right? My dad's sitting there like a plug, being like, "What about me? I'm Ernie," and she's like, "Adame." And
She don't even know what's going
speaking
on.
Italian to me. I'm like, you might as well be speaking Latin, you know? Like, what is this tongues you're
So
talking to
okay,
me
so
in?
you're in a circle praying
So we're
for
in
your
a circle
grandma to
praying
die.
for my grandmother to pass away and save my brother, and then literally within 15
You're a
minutes,
witch.
yeah, literally within 15 minutes of doing
She
that, my dad gets a phone call from his brother, says grandma's dead, and then
Check.
and then like another 20 minutes later go by, or maybe even an hour, and then the doctor comes in and goes, I don't know if he's gonna make it through the night, but he's stable. So like that's
Wow.
good news, right? They stopped all the bleeding, they did all their surgeries and shit,
Wow.
and then he survived. And then so from that day, I was like, holy fuck, like I can't ignore it. Like I can choose to.
Did your brother have any experience? Like, wow. Did he see anything? Did he go to the other side when he was having?
No, he just said he couldn't really remember much, but all he said was he heard like us saying like don't go. And then he heard another voice that he couldn't like depict what it was, but it said stay.
Wow.
That's like someone from the other side, probably.
Yeah.
Or grandma being like,
Yeah.
you stay, I got this one.
Yeah. That's usually what they hear.
I bumped you off the death show.
Be like, actually, the whole family's praying for my death. So
Yeah, and then just other little things.
I got voted off the island.
Yeah. You're old and dying in the mind, so for this reason, you're out.
Wow.
Yes.
you're the weakest link.
Yeah, you're the weakest link.
No, you
Goodbye.
are the weakest link. Sorry.
Bye.
Yeah. You want to?
She just falls down a cavern.
God damn.
Yeah, we think she's going to heaven, but she's actually going to hell. So then there's that, but then other things where you're like, oh, like little small subtleties.
Sometimes the small things are the ones that you're like, what?
Yeah, or like just things where you're like, oh, fuck, like I just need a sign or something, like even if you're like in comedy where you're like, oh man, this is becoming dreading. Like, I don't know, what is it? I need, like, give me something to keep going. And then you're like, okay, here's this fucking
specific
big
thing.
show, or you get a festival or something, or it's like, you're kind of like worried about stress of certain things, and then you kind of just manifest like prosperity, I guess.
Hell yeah. Absolutely.
We have a male manifester.
That's
here
amazing.
in the room.
Yeah.
And you like women.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. If we
Sorry,
had
I was trying to decipher what you're saying. If
I
you're
was
like,
like,
where you're like, is he
you eat
saying,
pussy.
and you're not gay?
Yeah.
I like.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And also, like, I mean,
When
there
they
are
don't piss me off.
no, but I mean, they're all also
When they do, I'm
straight
gay. Yeah.
men who fuck women but don't like women. I think
Yeah.
that is actually an accurate
It's a big
interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could interpret it either
What
way.
would you call those? Like asexuals or something?
No.
No.
Like they're straight men.
But they just don't like women.
Yeah,
like
they're the
like
bad
a lot of
ones.
men hate themselves so much that when a woman likes them and they fall in love, they begin to hate the woman for liking them because they're like, why are you so fucked up that you like me?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's some deep seated shit.
And
That's
that's
where
just a
a
dude
lot
who
of.
needs to work on himself.
I mean, hell yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Flip that.
I want you to coach men. I know that's not the career you're getting into. But
Eric turns his head, being like, I don't know. Well, there'd
No,
be two
just-
courses, eh? There'd be Dog 101 and then
Well, 'cause, like,
a woman's man 101.
Wait, Eric, do you know? Wait, is anything here a lie? Because Eric knows Danny behind the scenes. Is there anything?
oh, you guys are friends?
Well, I think he knows him through the
He knows me
Canadian
through Ryan, and then,
thing.
but I've only met Eric probably like a handful of times.
Eric, is there anything
Yeah.
right now so far in your listening that you think is fraudulent about what Danny has told us?
No, not at all. I had-
But mind you, though, like if you talked to me 10 years ago, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
the man who I am today.
Well,
right?
none of us would be the person.
Yeah.
23-year-old man and 33-year-old man.
Oh,
Big
So,
difference.
your brain's not developed.
I'd be.
So how
Yeah.
did? So
I don't think I'd be a guest on your podcast if I was 23.
Or it'd be a different kind of interview.
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your hound dog days then.
Well, I was just a guy who loved to fuck, really. I guess that's
Word. I mean, yeah.
like and you're
nothing
like
wrong with that.
and you're young, and it's just like I don't know. I started comedy when I was like 18, and then
Okay, you got into
of
it
course
young.
like when I was like young, growing up and stuff, and like you.
And it's always an impressive, like, so if you started when you were 18, then you didn't do it for pussy. Because a lot of men, like, go into an art for pussy.
No, but I started in like theater and
Side of
improv and
pussies.
stuff way before.
I
Like
mean, he was trying
Okay.
to have sex with secretaries at
That's
night.
true.
yeah.
you
So
did
I was like,
whatever.
I don't know. What would you say? I lost my virginity probably in grade 7, summer. grade
Whoa.
7.
Dear.
How?
Yeah, and I was
to a
like-
woman your age or girl?
No, yeah, she was in my grade. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old are
and
you?
then,
Grade 7? You're 12?
13.
13. Okay.
What is
Yes.
7th grade sex like? And I don't
Sounds
even know if I can
terrible.
ask that without getting on some kind of list.
I mean, like it's like you figuring it out, right? You're figuring out what you like, what you don't
Yeah.
like. You're also thinking you're like, oh, like I don't know.
Seventh
The
grade
first
doesn't
time I
know
had
what's
sex
happening.
wasn't a good time. That's for
me
sure.
either. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish. Yeah. I wish I would have gotten the heads up that
Mm-hmm.
if you lose your virginity at a young age, it's not going to be good sex. Like if you lose it at an older age, like 18, 19, 20, 21, like it's going to be a way different experience. And
Yeah.
it's probably going to be great.
Yeah. But then it's like I don't know. For I was growing up, it was like you were like the cool guy, right? So like you smashed.
Yeah, I mean that's everywhere.
right. Like growing up as a kid,
if you're a girl or a boy, I mean.
especially in like early 2000s, where it's like if you're like 18 and a virgin, people are like what the fuck you been doing?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They don't say that to girls.
No, they're like
Yeah.
this. They like you. More,
Yeah.
'cause-
Were the girls respected for fucking?
I would
it
say like
typical?
yes and no, right? Like you have your circles. Like obviously at a young age, you have these kids that just like to talk shit kind of thing. So it's
Yeah.
just like, okay, you're labeled a whore, then maybe you're like a slut or a
Yeah.
harlot, depending on who you talk
Harlot.
to. Yeah, right? Or as
how
my mom would say, a bit of a hussy.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that word.
Yeah, so
hussy.
it's like I don't know. I think it was like, but that's where I came from, right? I grew up in Edmonton, and it was like in that time, it was like a dude is a guy that like he fucks, he parties. You know what I mean? Like that was
check.
Yeah, that was like the cool guy where it was like, oh, this guy, you know, he can get girls, he could also have a good time, and he shotguns a beer under 3 seconds. So
Oh wow.
and 3 seconds is that's a long time.
For shotgunning, I mean, God, if you had a big hole, shotgunning.
What are you laughing at?
I mean, sometimes you say things and I go, this feels like written.
like we're getting punked. but
Yeah,
it's real.
no, it's like well, it is.
Name is tattooed.
I keep
That's,
thinking it looks like Anne Frank, and I know it does not say Anne Frank, and it's very
What
distracting.
an ally.
No, it's a more
women and
fatty.
Jews.
It's a more fatty. So it's like when I was like when I quit liquor and had like a revamp in my life, I kind of like went into stoicism and stuff and like read it.
Ooh, Stoics. I
Yeah,
love
there's a
that.
part where, you know, like at the beginning of the pandemic or whatever, it was like, who am I, you know? When comedy was taken away, I had to really think about like, who am I, what am I? And then I was like in this relationship at the time, and then that exploded and blew up.
Exploded how?
You know, it was my fault. I was in a long-term relationship
What'd
with
you
a
do?
woman, and
Cheated?
I wasn't a faithful man.
Oh, so the
How-
hound
how-
dog days aren't that far behind us.
Yeah.
I would say the hound dog days are probably 4 years behind me.
Oh, you made it
it-
seem like it was ancient history.
No. No, but it was like,
Wait, I want to talk about this.
yeah, okay, we can.
I love how, like, I love, like, the mind of, like, this concept that cheating isn't personal, even though it feels so fucking personal.
Yeah.
Like, why did you cheat? How many times did you cheat? Was the girl hotter or uglier than your girlfriend? Because that's it'll depend. My theory will depend on.
I would
those
say
answers.
like my ex-girlfriend was a very beautiful woman. She was a very nice woman, but I
Aw.
think just the way that my life was where it was and what the pandemic kind of happened, I felt like I wasn't being able to truthfully live who I wanted to be. And like at the beginning, I was like, you know, you're in this like young relationship or whatever, and you're kind of like, okay. And then it became serious. And then I was like, all right, I should probably, you know, not hook up with other people. And then, yeah, as bad as this sounds, right? Like,
be honest,
like,
yeah.
I'm gonna like, don't get me wrong.
I love an
girls, like,
evolution.
at this point, like, I am not a good guy in this story, but from being that person and then going through,
faced it.
Well, yeah, and then also being like, okay, in order for me to be who I am today, I guess technically that had to happen.
Yes,
and as
I
shit
agree.
as a thing that's to say, both people are better off.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
sure.
So,
yeah, I might not feel it in the moment, but always looking back, like
Yeah.
those painful relationships are like some of the most eye-opening.
Yeah, and then but towards the end where it was like things got crazy, there was a big, very split of, I guess, like beliefs almost.
In what?
Towards the end, well, it was like I believed in the fact where it was like there's more to life than just having like a family kind of thing. But then there was also a big difference on like COVID views and stuff. And then it was like,
Yeah, he was like, no vaccine. She was like,
no. She was like, no vaccine.
Oh, it
And
was opposite.
And I was no vaccine either. I was like, okay, well, I don't necessarily, because I had it a couple times and I'm like, oh, this isn't as crazy as it was. And I'm like, I won't get it until it affects my life in a way that I had to. And I was working in TV and film.
Right. Yeah,
And then that
you weren't
started
allowed on
coming.
set, yeah.
And then I had to go and do the Seattle Comedy
Was she like
Contest.
pissed that you got a vax?
Oh, it was crazy.
She was mad at you?
Yeah, it
she was
like
that mad.
But then it was
Really?
also weird though because my uncle passed away from it, and when in Canada it was so crazy where it was like you couldn't go into the rooms or anything. So my uncle's
Right.
dying from it, and then my dad and my mom were like, "What are you doing? Your uncle's thing." And then I had to go in and put my uncle down when they let
Put him down?
well, because he was on life support and he was on like the thing, and then for a window of 2 weeks they only let people go in. And then so I had to go and be the representation of my family, and like,
You went? Wow.
yeah, and play my uncle off to his music and tell him it's
Oh,
okay.
wow. So you were there with his dad.
Yeah, it was
That's
crazy.
so powerful.
Yeah, it was crazy because we have a
Did you watch him like leave his body?
played him out and everything. Yeah,
Holy shit.
So,
That's beautiful. You're like a little death doula.
Yeah. So, but then his name's Danny, like Danilo. I'm Daniel, and then there was another Danielle in the room. So it was all three Dannys of the
Oh, cool.
family, and then we just played him out and stuff. And I had to go through that, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna get it. Like,
Yeah.
Like whether it fucking gets me or not, who gives a shit? Like at this point for my family, I have to get it. I'm doing traveling. It's becoming a hindrance.
Yeah.
But I had fake papers and everything for the whole household. So I was like, you can have these papers. You can do whatever you want. Like I got it. So you don't have to get it, but I have to get it. And then it was like, you're killing yourself. You're killing us. Like
you're killing us. Wow.
Yeah. And like all this whole thing, we're not going to have a family, blah, blah, blah.
I think you guys just weren't meshing anymore and she needed a way to.
Yeah. No.
Sometimes you subconsciously like hone in on something because I'm like, how the fuck would a person think that? But like,
well, people in the U.S. are always like, we're moving to Canada. I'm like, there's Republicans in Canada too, no matter what they're calling them.
Like I come from where I'm from is like that's
Edmonton is
conservative.
What's the comedy venue there? The comedy club.
Rick Bronson's the comic strip.
Is it that one?
Yeah.
I think you might be talking about the Winnipeg one.
Winnipeg's Rumors.
Rumors.
Yeah,
I love Rumors.
Winnipeg.
Fun. God hates Winnipeg.
Yeah. A lot of people hate Winnipeg.
Yeah.
I like it.
But then I guess, but then to continue on with the story, sorry to cut you off, there's like, I should have probably left the relationship 3 years ago. Prior to that day.
3 years before you did.
Yeah, but then like COVID and all that, and then we're stuck into the trenches and all that shit.
So how long was the relationship in totality?
5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you should have gotten out at 2 years.
Oh, it was mental.
Under half.
COVID though.
Yeah.
COVID grounds you in terms of like you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
So like
then,
it's kind of a shitty time to break up.
Yeah.
COVID was a great time to be single.
But then it was like, oh, okay, I'm going to dig down deep into this, you know? Like, I was like, whatever, this is my life. If comedy's not here, I guess I can just double down on this family life. So then it was bad. I bought like a wedding ring, everything.
Oh,
I was like, fuck.
shit,
yeah.
dude.
And then I was going to plan this whole like...
And you weren't into it while you bought the ring.
Yeah, and then then I was like,
why do men do that?
Why do men do this, Danny?
I think it was just...
Because this is not an uncommon thing.
I think it's because like you have so many outside forces and then you're like, okay, well, this is just it. Like the family's invested, she's invested, everything is like this. And then ideally... How
could it be that bad if everybody else is pushing
and it was like, but I just wasn't living my truth and I knew that I didn't really want it, but I was so like ingrained into the family that my mom and dad were stoked. They were like, they would take trips together. It was like...
Oh, wow.
It was like deep in, right?
Yeah,
so then I was like, oh, okay, doing all this. And then it was like... had this whole plan proposal where it was like we were going to go to the Banff. I had a place there. My buddy's like a chef, so we were going to go to the spa. And while we were at the spa, he was cooking up a meal and all this shit in the mountains. Like it was, I had
That's beautiful.
Yeah, this whole plan.
And the whole time you were like not really into her.
Well, no, I was like okay with it, you know? I guess I don't know.
Every woman's dream.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God! I'd rather just have someone be mean.
This is fascinating intel because we hear stories about you are not alone in the.
You are not.
Yeah, I know, but I was just going with it, and it was like, oh, this is life, and then she was just like, yeah, where it was like brutal.
Women be out here going praying for like some magical, like once in a lifetime unique relationship.
But it was also like one of those things where you're like, okay, well, let's go look at some rings, or let's go get an idea of it, and then next thing you know, at the end of this interview, or like gem looking, it's like, okay, well, that's here's the money, and I was like, what the fuck?
Here's the money.
I guess I'm starting a down payment, and then as this is going, I'm like, fuck, this is my whole life. But then I'm fighting the internal battle of being like, I don't want this.
Yeah. Oh,
you know,
God.
like to the point where I'm like, I'm working in film 12 hours a day, every day, fucking grinding crazy.
Yeah.
I went to go spend some of my money on a bike because I'm like, whatever, I'm going to buy a bicycle. But then that was a fucking whole ordeal because you're not planning for the future. You're just going to
like an actual bike or a motorcycle.
I bought both, but
let's not be crazy.
But that was later on, right? Because I'm like, fuck it, like I need something, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want to drive my car, and then I'm like, okay, well, I've always wanted to ride a bike. Like, let's just ride a bike. I'm not doing shows and shit. I might as well learn like something else, and then riding it around, and then I'm in this, and then I'm like, okay, well, I'm planning this whole thing, and then she was just a wonderful lady, and then like she just became this like crazy thing where it was like I'm a Nazi because I'm doing all this thing. I'm helping.
She called you a Nazi?
Yeah, I'm helping the agenda. And then she was like, your family's stupid for getting the shot. You're stupid. And I'm like,
whoa.
Okay,
oh my God, she flipped.
Yeah, and I'm doing this show out in Calgary, like planning this thing. And then I'm like, fuck it, man. Like, I'm just going to call it off. Like, you know, I'm not going to do this. You're being too difficult. And then I'm like doing this show and this like, it's gonna sound horrible, but she's gotta be probably like a nice, like I'm being gracious, a 6, right?
Okay, got it.
Like a rude person from like Provost, Alberta, and Provost is known for having the longest running like Ku Klux Klan chapter in Canada, and she's like, and
there's
it's
Ku Klux Klan in
and
Canada?
it's like super
Fuck
like
that.
a brutal human, and then she's like, I got the vaccine, I don't really give a fuck, and then at that point I'm like what are we doing here? This person gets it, and then this wonderful lady that I'm You know,
Yeah.
dating doesn't do it. And
So
then-
wait, but did you hook up
Did
with
you
the
fuck that?
6?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
But it was like so brutal though too.
It
where-
was, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like the whole thing was like, to me, it's like comedically like because I'm like, okay, well, whatever. Like she comes back to the condo.
Also, I just wanted a 6. You made it seem like she was like a 3,
Like a demon,
6.
like a friend.
Yeah,
a
I
6
said
shouldn't
being
induce
gracious. She was like
vomiting.
definitely
Yeah,
like
a 4 would.
A 6 is like a regular looking
A
woman.
4, you have like hairs in places you should.
Yeah, okay, well then I'll say like her 6 outside, but her inside was definitely a 3. And like she was a brutal human, but
Yeah.
but at this
Inside
point,
and out.
Yeah, but at this point I'm like, oh man, like whatever, like fuck it, I don't even want to be doing this.
Yeah,
so then
yeah.
that was like an act of like I guess from like going back and kind of looking at it, these actions were ones where I'm like, okay, this was the only sense of control I felt like I had in my life. Like
Yeah.
on stage and then off stage, I was just going through the motions of going to be a married man and get a place
yeah.
in condo in Calgary.
As your future fiance.
Or then
she's
stare at the barrel of a 45 when I'm 52, you know? Like kind of
Yeah.
where I'm like, well, this is
You
like...
really had a plan.
Yeah. Early out. Retirement. So I go through this and then I go and
Canadian
I like hook up
retirement
with
is
this
just suicide.
person and it's like brutal. Like as I'm doing it, like she was always lingering around. I'm like, okay, well, like, are you gonna go or like, what's up? You know, like I gotta go on a mountain. I gotta.
Yeah, she got to fuck a guy way out of her league.
Yeah.
She ain't leaving.
No, but it was
She
like
ain't
we
leaving.
didn't hook up yet, right? Because she's
Oh.
like, "Oh, I'm gonna come down," and then it was like we were like doing these singles, but then it's just a person lingering in this thing, and then I like a condo, and then I have to go on a 9 a.m. hike tomorrow, and it's
So like,
already.
we need to fuck because I need to get to bed because I need to go on this hike.
Yeah, so I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, are you like stay or go? Like, I can get you a cab, or like, here's some pillows and blankets and shit. Like,
Yeah.
you can crash in the living room, or by all means, if you need a place to stay. But like, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
And then so I go into bed, like brush my teeth, and
Oh,
she
no.
comes in. She's like, oh, I want to hook up. So I'm like, okay, well, let's do it. And then so we do it, and it's like brutal.
Oh,
Like.
how brutal? Like
Like,
is stuff going on in your head?
Yeah,
or-
what's brutal sex from a male perspective?
I don't know. I guess in the most politically like safe way you could say,
Yeah,
the
fuck
pH balances were a little bit off. pH balances are definitely off, and then I get like 3 pumps in. And at this point, I'm like drunk, I'm cheating, I'm upset with my life. I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here in this bathroom? And then out of nowhere,
Why you're in the bed?
yeah, I'm in the bathroom because she came in and closed the door when I'm brushing my teeth. And then and then so I'm like 3 pumps in, and then all I hear is boom, 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 and it's her sister knocking the door, being like, "What the fuck you doing in there?" And I'm like, "I don't want to do this," you know. I'm like, "What the fuck? Like this is crazy."
terrible.
Why was the sister there?
Because the sister was rolling with her, and then she was gonna hook up with my buddy, but my buddy's Egyptian, so she went on a racist tangent about how like
What?
people from Africa are fucked, all
Oh
black
my
people are crazy, and then my
God.
buddy's like, "Yo, I'm out," and then I'm.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
That is brutal.
So then that's
That
when
is accurately
So that's when
brutal.
I was like, okay, we gotta finish this up here, right? And then I did the whole blanket thing, get out going, and then I'm 3 pumps in the washroom, and then her sister's kicking, banging in the door, like doing all this. I'm like, you gotta like, I don't want this. Like, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, I'll leave, and then so I'm like, all right, see you girls. And then so I'm like,
girls.
you know, I'm like just chilling, and then I open the door, like laying down in my bed, and I'm like drunk, right? So it's kind of like spinning. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it. I'm like, wow, I'm like a piece of
So,
shit. Like, what are
yeah.
we doing here, right? And then she comes in the room again, and I'm like, I thought you left. She's like, no, I'm gonna stay. I'm like, okay. And then she stays in the bed,
Ew.
but she's wearing her outside clothes.
Uh-oh.
And
Like boots?
no, she's wearing like jeans and like everything, and I'm like, ah, fuck. And then she smells like cigarettes, like heavy, right? And then so I'm like drunk, spinning, and I'm smelling these smokes, and then I'm waiting there, and I'm like, I gotta say something. And then I was like, well, if you're gonna stay the night, do you mind if like you just freshened up or like got out of your outside clothes kind of thing?
That's
and then
fair.
and
That's
she's
fair.
like-
It's your bed.
Yeah, she's like, what? Why? And I'm like, I don't know. You just kind of like smell like cigarettes, and it's making me a little sick. And she's like, I smell like cigarettes? You're a piece of shit. And then gets up and
my
like goes
God,
into
she's one of
DEFCON
those.
mode. And then immediately I'm like, oh no, this is a bad situation, right? You have these 2 like crazy chicks in your house.
Who? The sister wanted
Well,
to
the
stay there
sister was
too?
staying in the living room, and then my buddy, he's texting me from like his room, being like, "Yo, are these girls gonna like rob us and shit?" I'm like, I have no clue. There's nothing. Like, all my valuables are in my room. I'm like, this girl's snapping, saying like I'm a piece of shit because I called her. She smells like cigarettes and stuff, and then she just goes off, and she's like, "You're a piece of shit." And I'm like, "Oh yeah," and then she was like, "Yeah, like I know you have a girlfriend. I know that all this stuff." And then I go, "Okay."
And so she fucked you knowing that?
Well, then
you
this
fucking
is the
bitch?
thing too, right? Where I was like, well, if I'm a piece of shit because I have a girlfriend and you knew I had a girlfriend, then I'm not the only piece of shit in this room. And then she goes,
Wow.
fuck you, and then goes ballistic. And then the sister kicks open the door. She goes, what the fuck? You calling my sister sister a piece of shit. And I'm like, what's with these doors you're kicking? I'm like, why the fuck haven't you girls gone? Like, I'll call you an Uber. And then this is when I knew like I was completely like in a shitty situation. She goes, what's an Uber? And I was like, in this whole like DEFCON being like, oh no, I was like, because you know what I mean? She could sue me by saying some crazy ass shit. And like, you know, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm like, what's she gonna do, right? But then as soon as she goes, what's an Uber? I just die laughing. I'm like laughing in her face, right?
Oh, that probably.
And she's like, why are you laughing? I'm like, you don't know what an Uber is? She's like, no. I'm like, it's a taxi of the future. And then she's just like, what the fuck? And then I'm like, I'll order an Uber. And then I call her an Uber, and then she's like, goes downstairs, and then I'm immediately, I'm like, I'm booked, right? I'm like, this girl's gonna like tell my girlfriend. Like, I just had that feeling.
Yeah.
And then, but I'm like still laughing because I'm like,
She didn't know what an Uber
no,
was?
because I'm showing my buddy. I'm like, look, bro, they don't even know it's there. And then the fucking car's just circling the parking lot, and then it leaves and cancels it. I'm like,
No.
yeah.
Did they try to get back in your?
No, I just
just
immediately
figured it out.
blocked them all, did the fucking, I was
Right.
like, all this shit. And then I woke up the next morning where it was like,
Was this all a dream?
no, I woke up and I'm like, oh fuck, my girlfriend didn't text me and all this stuff. And then I like tell my buddies, and we're at like 9 a.m. I'm severely hungover.
Did you tell your buddies you cheated?
Oh yeah.
Oh, so you confided in them?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And plus my roommate. And then they're like, ah, fuck. And then as soon as like we're going to the mountains, right? I'm like texting my girlfriend. I'm like, hey, just heading to the mountains right now. Hope your time, like your night was all right. Immediately phone calls, like after
that's
the send
never
button.
good.
And then I just pull up my phone on my buddies, and then they pull over. They all get out of the car. And then I just answer it. And I'm like, hello. She's like, yeah, you want me to have a good time? And I was like, yeah. She goes, yeah, just like the time you had when you were fucking that girl in the washroom.
She did tell.
Yeah. And then she's like, she told me everything. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, what did you do? And then I was like, oh, nothing really. Like, I don't know, blah, blah. And she's like, what happened? I was like, well, I mean, like, I guess I got my dick sucked. And then she's like,
Yes, I got my dick sucked.
yeah, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm laughing about it because I have to. But then, like, I was a bad guy in this whole thing. And then and then immediately my buddies got in the car, and then they handed me 2 grams of mushrooms. I ate the mushrooms, and I went on like this huge nature hike. And
Oh, and it was a good trip?
oh, it was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fucking some of the...
I was going to say, you probably had to deal with your demons on that one.
Yeah, but it was good though, because I realized like as I'm going through it, I'm like high on these mushrooms. They're kicking my ass.
Dude, going through something and taking mushrooms is a
and,
borderline
like,
death sentence.
yeah,
I had to have Corinne come over on suicide watch the last time I did
Oh
mushrooms. I
yeah,
had a bad
because
trip.
I always say that mushrooms will like open up doors for you and like kind of cleanse these things where it's like you'll always ask the why, you know?
You have to face...
Yeah,
You have
so
to face it.
I'm like ate these mushrooms, and then I'm going on this hike, but we're in like shitty weather. It's like late October, so it's like snow, but also like a slush kind of like a wet one. So I'm climbing up this hill, and it's the most garbage hill. I'm like slipping, I'm falling, I'm like crying because I'm like I smell all the booze. I've realized my whole life's blown up. Like, you know, like all.
Were you secretly relieved or no?
Well, yeah, because I look back now at it where I say I didn't care about that one girl, and I didn't care about my girlfriend at the time, where it felt like I was like trapped in a like a wolf or a coyote in a trap, and then it just gnaws its arm off to get free. Like that was my whole.
Yeah, everyone knows that saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, that was my whole burn the farm, burn everything, fuck it. Like,
Yeah.
Who cares? You know, pack up your 3 belongings, go to the next town, like get your life together, right? Kind of thing. And I'm climbing up this hill, slipping, falling. My whole mantra during it is like, you can break, you have a break, but you can't break down. I'm like, I'm gonna keep going. I'm not gonna stop. I'm slipping. I'm
I
sliding.
love these Danny-isms.
Yeah.
Your friends in the background with a stereo. I'm not afraid.
No, but my one buddy,
Playing Eminem.
he's like Chris LaBelle, God bless him. He's like the Sherpa of Calgary, so he'll take you on like long hikes. He'll like cook you the food. He does everything, right? So he was like, man, I know what you're going through. Like, I'll stay ahead of you. He's like, just follow me. I'll stop at the trailhead and then keep going, right? And then I'm sliding all this shit, and then I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, well, this hike is similar to what my life is right now. I'm like, right now my life is just dirty mud shit. I'm covered in piss, I'm fucking slime, crying, all this stuff. I'm like, once you get to the top, you're going to be free of it. So I'm like, just dig deep, keep your head down, go. And as I'm slipping, I'm falling, there's a point where I'm like, I got to like stop. I'm like, I can't. I'm overwhelmed with all the sensation. And then I hear this little kid laugh, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I like bring my head up, and the kid's laughing, having a good time. And then he stops straight at me. He goes, don't worry, buddy, you're almost there. Just keep going. And I just burst out in tears. I'm crying.
And the kid goes,
and I'm like, oh my God, no. And then his parents come around and then see me just frog frog-eyed on the corner of the trail, be like, "Oh, you don't understand what you've done for me." And then the mom's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "I haven't been better. You don't know how much of an angel your son is." And then I'm like dying. And then I go up to the top, and then that's when Chris was like, "Hey, we're at this part, but like you got to go through it. Like you just go hike." And then I get to the top. I go through the full thing. I realize that like my body's too full of alcohol. I'm a piece of shit. I was living a lie. Got to live my truth. I'm like, now we're at the top. It was just serenity. It was peace. It was calm. All my buddies were already too high, and then so we're waiting for them for like an hour and a half at the top because I was just booking it.
Wow.
Because I'm like, I can't be with these guys right now. I'm like, I got to be at my pace and my pace only. But then Chris kept pace with me, and then we get to the top. We have some tea. We do like a little like kind of like a smudge sage, little, like with an eagle's feather, like north.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh, we're filming. Sorry.
It's like my neighborhood, eh? They're always going, "Can you guys be a little bit quiet?" I'm like, "You don't understand." But so then we get to the top, we get all to this shit, and then I'm like, all right, well, I got to change my life. I'll quit booze. I'll like get it together, and I'll be rocking and rolling.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And then you did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I quit. I quit officially in like February of that year. That happened in October, and then February I quit for 2.5 years, and then came back to liquor.
When did you next see your ex? Like,
I have.
Were you living together at the time?
We were living together, and then this was the crazy thing too, where it was like I was on tour, and then it happened. And then
that's good to move out.
Yeah, and then she was like, "Oh, you got to come back and get all your shit, or else it's thrown out." So then I had to cancel a show, fly back, throw all my shit into storage, and then I had to go and do 3 weeks in Seattle for the comedy competition.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shit. And then you haven't talked since?
No, we talked like a little bit, like here and there at the beginning, wanting to know whys and that kind of stuff, like the closure things. And then, but out of respect, I wouldn't want to see her or talk to her. And I wouldn't want to either. I feel like that chapter's closed. And
that's
out
cool.
of respect,
you got to respect the dead. You got to respect the dead. Let them rest in peace.
Our dead love.
Out of respect, I actually don't want to have a conversation.
Yeah, but no, like it's like, you know, like if I'm ever in Toronto and I know like kind of whereabouts of like her in a sense where it's like, oh, I know where she like kind of hangs out. I'm like, I won't go there. I just don't really want to open that up.
Yeah.
But then, long story short, for the tattoo,
I forgot.
I just started reading like stoicism books and stuff like that, and then I resonated with the amor fati. It means love fate. So whatever happens your way, it could always be worse. You have to take it with a smile on your chin, and I mean, it kind of goes with the it doesn't happen to you, it happens for you kind of thing. It keeps you with the growth, and your life can always be shittier, and there's positions that people wish that they were in that you're currently in, and you just have to kind of live every day with a joy and zest of love and enjoy it and know that it could always be worse.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, moving.
I got nothing. You're a complete man.
So I just kind of do that, and then I did like 6 months of like celibacy and
on purpose.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was good. It taught me like because I was just you get involved with relationships and you're kind of just having sex to have sex, and I felt like that was one of the problems that I had, like one of my vices. So in order to control it, I kind of had to get away from it and realize that like it is an energy exchange.
Totally. And it makes you appreciate sex and kind of respect it when you step back from it.
Well, yeah, and it's like I always told myself like if I'm gonna hook up with a girl at that time that I had to have something more than just a physical attraction. Like it had to mentally stimulate me or like make me feel like emotionally fuller.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And then during that time I found my current girlfriend, and
that's great.
Yeah.
Where'd you find her?
Found her in a bargain bin. No, I'm just kidding. No, she was a friend of my brother's ex-girlfriend, and then we met over Christmas, and then we kind of had a little romance, and then it just led into
a Christmas romance.
Yeah, and then it just led into like it was going to be like, oh, okay, whatever, I'll hook up with her while I'm in town, and vice versa. She admitted that it was just going to be a hookup kind of thing, and then we stayed in contact while I traveled all around the world doing comedy, and I just had a strong draw towards her and kind of always wanted to see how her day was or kind of the successes that I had. I had to share. Yeah, a sense of joy. And then it became like it was the easiest thing ever. And
Yeah, cool.
and for us to focus on our individual lives while we go and chase our dreams. And
And how long
great.
have you guys been together now?
2 years officially, and then 3 years like unofficially.
Okay.
I did see it because I did see a post that you said something about like you're my end game, and I was like, wow, look at this guy posting publicly.
Wow.
Yeah. I get a
Hard
lot of
launch.
flack from both her sometimes and the boys.
From her?
Well, because she's like, you never post me on the grid, and you never do that. And I'm like, don't worry about it. Like, I'd almost like, this is kind of professional, but also it's like, what? You know what I mean?
I mean, nowadays that's more intimate to keep your relationship to yourself.
Well, that, and it's like, I look at all the other relationships I had. It's like I've posted them all here and there and didn't mean shit.
Yeah, right.
So, and it's like, I kind of like, I like to keep that world almost separate.
Yeah, I totally find
Yeah, because
there's
then you
value
never
in
know
that.
too. It's like if you guys shared your boyfriends or something, you might have a couple
People trying to keep
weirdos
them.
getting in, like.
Oh yeah,
things,
no, it's
right?
happened. It's happened.
So
Yeah. That's amazing. That's beautiful.
yeah, so it's a nice little thing. Every day, it's an everyday struggle and work, right? You gotta.
Yeah, every day is.
It is really like.
Yeah, you have to pick your attitude every day.
Well, that and like self-betterment, you know, because it's so easy to slip into like old habits and
Yes,
stuff.
yeah.
So.
and to
gotta
sit
do
in the
that.
discomfort, it could kind of become a game. in a
Well,
way.
yeah, and it's like, okay, you're programmed too, where it's like, I don't know, my favorite thing in life is to see how far, like, well, one of them was, not anymore, but like, I guess my favorite thing about interacting with people or having like dialogues and discourses or kind of like relationships is like, oh, okay, how fast can we get to where the best place is, you know? So it's
right.
like if you were, okay, whatever, going out and you meet someone, if you're single, you're like, okay, well, I want to see like, how fast can we get to the point of like, I don't know, physical
A fucking?
fucking, but then also like how fast can we get to our connection? And
I think he's talking
how
about
long-
love bombing in a Canadian way.
Yeah, but like how fast can we get there? But and how long can we hold it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, if we were meant to be,
That's very like addict behavior.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's where it's like, you know,
I was like, ooh, sounds fun.
yeah, but you know what I mean though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Where it's
yeah.
like, oh, I really like this person. That's okay. Like, what can I get to the stage of like the
Yeah.
intimacy, but then also the emotional side of it, where it's just
Yeah.
like, okay, now you're my confidant, a person,
Yeah,
or raw, right? So
Yeah,
it's
and you have
just
like a bond that's really
yeah,
special.
but then it's also okay. Now you get there, and then you realize that like it's not that much,
Yeah.
you know. And then you're like, okay, and then you step out, and then it's like you're almost vilified because it's like, well, I gave myself to you.
But also when you go that fast, then
You're
you're
not paying
then you're gonna
attention.
get to the demise sooner,
That's
or
what-
like not even a demise, like a plateau that doesn't feel exciting because it feels comfortable.
Yeah.
So if you take more time on the way up,
That's what. Yeah.
it'll be
It's like
it'll
a-
ultimately be better.
Yeah. It's like a.
Wow,
Yeah.
good for you, man.
Yeah. So it's like every day you got to, you know, kind of stay on top of it.
Yeah. You have a great
It is,
balance
or
of
else-
like masculinity, spirituality, self-assessment, self-interrogation.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I wish more men possessed, is like interrogating their values and their actions.
Yeah.
And the people in their life and making sure they want to be there. I feel like guys just kind of do stuff sometimes. And,
Yeah.
And there's not purpose behind it. And women are very purpose driven. I think men are too. It's just like they haven't been shown.
Yeah, I think it's
How
too
powerful
where,
that is.
where it's like a dude's like, oh fuck it, I'll figure it out while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And a
yeah, I mean,
woman's like,
and there's
well,
certainly
if this
value.
happens,
but-
that's gonna happen. All this stuff. So it's like you think more further sighted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful.
Wow.
No further questions.
No
Ronnie.
further. Yes.
Yeah.
We rest our case.
And
Yeah.
this is in the what is it? Or
We don't know.
disposition.
Disposition.
Yeah, there we go.
No, deposition.
Deposition. Yeah, yeah.
I was like, I don't know where you're
Deposition
going.
of Danny Martinello. No, I'm just kidding.
And are you on any stimulants right now?
No, I had a coffee and a shake, but
Like a protein shake?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Had
Hell
a little
yeah.
some berries and bananas.
All right. You're on that
Amazing.
high from nature.
What do you want
Yeah.
to plug? How can we find you?
You could find me. I do a podcast with my roommate and other fellow Canadian comic Jared Campbell, the Dude Buddy Podcast, and then you can follow me on social media, Danny Martinello.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us.
No worries. Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure and an honor, and it's nice to start your afternoon with a couple lovely ladies. So.
This has been Guys
Never
We
change.
Fucked, the anti-slut shaming podcast. We'll talk to you next Friday.